So, Philip, how's your week been?
How's my week been? It's been alright, actually.
Has it? You told me it was shit a couple of minutes ago.
Work-wise, as I said, went for a little jaunty.
Have you put on your showbiz face so you're going to pretend everything's great?
Yeah, basically. The show must go on, Declan. Went to a little jaunty to Hartlepool, as you know.
Hartlepool just sounds like one of those places that's around the Midlands to me. I had no idea it was that far north.
It was quite cool, because, did you see the
I saw you on Match of the Day.
You saw me in Match of the Day. Well, I looked shocked.
In the background.
At the stand of the football.
Like you were chewing on a wasp.
I was witnessing, I was like, that thing that you saw, that photo, the geezer missed from about 1 yard out. Even I would have scored that. And that's saying something. Like, even Ryan said it to me. But it was quite a deprived place. But the people were generally really nice, and it had its own brewery.
Oh, so fair play.
I've made an order online. There's a couple of ciders there, Declan, that I'm gonna get delivered that are fucking top notch, mate. No, ciders, stout. Sorry.
I was about to say, yeah, it's
stout.
funny to.
It's not actually their own brewery.
Have ciders in the middle of winter.
Yeah, it's called Feakston, so it's called a barista stout.
All right.
So we know.
Was it like coffee infused?
Yes, we know what barista is.
Yeah.
But this was a proper sweet tasting coffee. Very
really?
Nice. You couldn't drink more than 3 because it gets really sickly after a while. But
So it's a sweet stout.
yeah.
Well, might have to try that.
Yes. So let's get into the filmage.
You don't want to hear how my fucking week went?
Oh, sorry.
No, I'm joking. I didn't do fuck all. I've been all healthy since the start of Jan.
You're like a wife that gets home from work.
Yeah.
And it's like, Dave.
And is neglected by a fucking husband.
Dave's just watching the footage and he's like, you didn't ask me about myself.
Isn't it, man?
But yeah.
Alright, well, let's get into it since you don't give a fucking shit about me. So, films of the year. Even though it technically, the new year has already started. We're 11 days in at this point. We're going to do our roundup of the films of the year.
So 2021.
So, I'm not going to do a top 10 because, to be honest, I just don't have 10 films that I would even consider my favourite films of the year. I don't know. Let's see how it goes. Maybe I will. And also, I'm going to do a little prefix here where, because I was saving a lot of the movies I really wanted to see and was most looking forward to watch them in the cinema, and cinema, it just wasn't possible really in the last month or two of the year due to like restrictions and stuff. And like I literally could have gone to the cinema, but COVID was getting so mental in London that I just didn't want to risk it, and I didn't want to ruin Christmas for myself or knock on effect for Sophie or anyone else I was coming into contact with. So I just didn't get to go to cinema. So there's going to couple of films I mentioned which I'm going to say probably should have been in my top 10.
So the first one I'm going for is Promising Young Woman.
Oh, I didn't include that, but yeah, definitely.
Obviously.
Wait, did that come out this year?
Last year. No, yeah, 2021.
Last year?
Yeah, 2021. It was a very, very good film. Obviously, it's like a revenge romp kind of thing, as we know. Like,
it's a lot of different genres sort of spliced together. Tonally,
yeah.
It's sometimes a bit weird, but I actually like that about it. Right, my first one I got on the list, this is going in no particular order, Last Night in Soho. Bit of recency bias here, because I literally watched this like 2 nights ago, but it was from last year, so I'm counting it.
Right.
Have you seen it?
So it's Edgar Wright who directed Shaun of the Dead, all that stuff.
That's right.
Baby Driver.
Have you seen it?
Didn't get round to watching this. So.
It's good. I really like it. A lot of people slagged it off because it's light on plot, but to be honest, I feel like that's what Edgar Wright should steer into most of the time. Like, he's experienced movies, and that's what this movie is. It's it's always going to be visually look very nice and be very well put together, but I wouldn't call it a horror movie, but it was that kind of in-between horror light movie. Kind of like The Others. Do you remember that back in the day? Where it's not quite a horror movie, but it's a horror-ish movie. And it's just intense. Like, it takes you down a trip with this chick who... It's got fantastical elements, but the main character is kind of losing their marbles the whole way through it as well. And it gets to a point where it doesn't really have the ebbs and flows of like a calm moment and an intense moment, because when it's not having a horror element, you're having a real life element with her in her normal life, but it's falling apart and she's losing it, and it never kind of gives you a second to breathe. So it freaked me out going to bed. It was one of those movies where you kind of nearly, in the last 10 minutes, you're like, oh, okay, good, it's ending now. Not because you want it to end, but you're kind of like, give me a fucking second to breathe, man. I just want to go to bed now.
I see, and then you got the guy from used to be in Doctor Who in it.
Yeah.
Matt Smith, I think.
Yeah. He's good in it. He's well cast because he is a sort of craze era dirty scumbag.
So would you say it's... Because this is a good conversation because I'm liking this because there's stuff that I haven't seen.
Yeah.
That actually, I'm not going to lie, that was on my list, but it was towards the kind of bottom compared to the other things.
It kind of just came and went. It didn't really get any buzz.
To see, would you say it's worth a watch?
Oh yeah, well, it's one of my best films of the year. Yeah,
definitely. True.
What about you? What's your next one?
I'm gonna go The Green Knight.
The Green... Oh, I didn't see that.
Yeah, so...
And I really wanted
this one, I don't know if it was released in cinemas, but it's like one of those Amazon originals, and sometimes I steer like clear from them because I'm like, oh, not one of these things again. On Netflix originals, I mean, they have their hits, but a lot of time they... I
agree with you on Netflix, but I think Amazon Prime have done some good acquisitions and good originals.
So it's an Arthurian legend, and it follows the tale of Sir Gawain. It's got a good cast. It's got Dev Patel in it, who's very good as the Green Knight. I liked it. I'm not going to lie. It was very good terms in visuals. It was quite slow at some points, but I thought it was a very good film. So I'm going to add that to the list. Like stylistically, I thought it was one of the best films of last year.
Yeah,
together.
Definitely have to see that.
Yeah.
All right, my next one on the list is Dune. Now, this is one of those films where I really pissed off Sophie, who I went to see it with, because I tricked her into seeing it because she hates sci-fi and stuff, but no one at the time else could see it with me. So I just tricked her into seeing it with me, and I just kept telling her that, Timothée Chalamet's in it, and it's based on a book.
Yeah.
Anytime she asked me what it's about. So she hated it. And it kind of weirdly took me about a day to realise I liked it, and that sounds like such pretentious bullshit, but part of it was I think her hating it. You know, when someone else is hating it, it's just kind of like interfering with your interfering with your signal of the movie. But and then I watched it again like a week later, and I kind of not watched it again, but I watched it again a couple of times, but in chunks, like half of the beginning, half of the ending. And this happens to me a lot, where some of my favourite movies I didn't even necessarily love the first time I watched them.
Yeah.
And then, maybe watch them a second. Like, my favourite movie of all time, Once Upon a Time in the West. First time I watched it, I was like, what the fuck was that? Second time I watched it, I was like, oh, do you know, there's something here. Third time I watched it, instantly became my favourite film of all time. I think it's the greatest film of all time, and it's never moved up or down on my list. Well, it can't move up, it's my greatest film of all time, but you know what I'm saying. And I had that with Dune, and I think the only reason it really didn't feel like a masterpiece was the fact that, because it's one story split in half, it was always going to have that feeling of incomplete.
Yeah.
It was never going to be truly satisfying because it hasn't finished the story yet. But saying that, Lord of the Rings always felt satisfying, but that was split into 3 books, so maybe that's why. What do you think of it?
Before we started this, I said that it's going to be a film that comes up on the list that I was meant to see, that I haven't seen yet.
Have you not seen Dune?
No. I don't think I'm going to watch it this year.
Mm.
And the reason I'm saying it is...
What, this entire year you don't think you're going to watch it?
The reason I'm not going to watch it, I refuse to watch it on a TV. I feel like this film, where you can tell me, needs to be watched on the big cinema screen to get a good...
Yeah, I mean, it would definitely
visuals, everything like that.
You are probably right. So you're going to wait till it's on the cinema? Because it probably will be out in certain cinemas around the time of part 2.
Yeah, it always seems to come up, every so often you'll get a film that just does replays. So I want to watch this, and it looks fantastic, but I don't want to do it in injustice watching it on the smaller screen.
We'll tell you what, when Dune Part 2's coming out, let's have a look around, see if Part 1's playing anywhere, and I'll do a little recap for myself before it comes out.
Yeah.
What's your next film on the list?
It's called and this isn't the Scandinavian translation. It's the English translation.
All right, you get an arty.
Yeah, arty farty. Another round. So basically,
Wait, the movie's called Another Round.
Yeah.
Okay.
So basically, I'm gonna have to read the plot here.
All right.
It's kind of hard to explain, but when you watch it, it's brilliant.
Yeah.
So these friends, Mad Mackelson, or I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right.
All right.
Everyone knows who he is.
Oh, is this where he's a drunk teacher?
Basically, yeah, they're all teachers.
Is that the plot?
Yeah, no, they're all teachers, and then they're kind of like stuck in their mediocre life.
Okay.
One of their friends in their group is kind of a little bit of a tearaway, and then he finds a study by like a famous philosopher where he's like, this philosopher says that before you do anything, you should get yourself to a certain alcohol level of like 0.0 something, and then everything goes better. And
who was this philosopher?
I don't know.
Did he word it as everything goes better?
But they're all doing it essentially because they're all in midlife crisis, so they just like do it. And then it starts off anything with booze, like, oh, do you want to go for a pint? It all starts off with good intentions and it spirals out of control. It's a really good film because it's not just really about like the booze, it's more of like character studies of like how they're handling the experiment, how they're people are just going, some people are going off the rails, some people are handling it, some people are like, this is stupid, and like it's just like a good character study, so I like really recommend it.
So there's no real plot, it's more premise and then go from there and have fun with it.
To be honest, there's no real plot at all.
Do you know what? I love that, man. I don't understand why it is a hard and fast rule that there has to be a plot, and every like that's always the mantra in screenwriting classes and courses that if it's not contributing to the plot, then cut it out. Everything's got a blah blah blah. It's like the people's problem with The Lighthouse. Like, why does The Lighthouse have to have a plot? It's just you have the premise and then you just have fun with it. All right, my next one on the list is House of Gucci. You seen it yet?
Not yet. Either.
All right, this film got a lot of hate, and it's one of those things where do you ever have a film where you love it and everyone hates it, and then you look at why they hate it, and you don't disagree with all their points, but you're like, oh, I just didn't mind. Like, it didn't take me out of it. Like, everyone hated the accents. Fair enough. It just didn't take me out of it. I didn't care. Like, it's funny, Jeremy Piven, all the accents are pretty shit. And borderline on the racists, but I just didn't give a shit. Like, it's good. Jeremy Piven, literally, he does an Italian accent for, like, 2 lines and then just reverts to English. He doesn't even, like, bother. It's hilarious. And Ray Leto is, like, Italian blackface.
Jared
Leto, sorry.
I thought you said Ray Liotta, you know.
I said a combination of the two. Jared Leto is like, but I loved it. Like, I like his performance. Like, it's unbelievably hammy and ridiculous. But I liked it. Like, apparently it wasn't super accurate, but you know, real life movies never are, especially when they're like a biopic usually gets things wrong, but when it's like a sprawling story covering decades about a whole family. Yeah, like, you know, it's not a documentary, whatever. I'm sure it's annoying for the people who were involved in real life events, but I'm talking objectively just as entertainment.
Yeah,
I thought it was good. I liked the setting. I liked the photography. I liked the design. I liked even the performances that everyone else seemed to hate, and I just bought into it. And I liked I think I also just was really happy that I actually liked a Ridley Scott movie again. Because I haven't loved any of them in a while, and I really enjoyed this.
Right, my next film is I'm going Palm Springs. So
that was good. I like that.
I think this was another Amazon original actually, so kind of defeats my earlier point, but there we go.
It's a bit screwy with Amazon originals as well, because Netflix as well, they'll just kind of like buy a movie and slap it on as an Amazon original. But yeah, go ahead.
So this has obviously Adam Sandberg in, who I really like from like The Lonely Island and
that cop show. What's that called again?
Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Yeah, he's very funny. I really like him.
It was basically, it's like a Groundhog Day kind of time loop thing. I really enjoyed it. Like, it's one of those films where sometimes you need one of those films where you're like, I don't really want I just want something like, had a shit day, I just want something to turn on that's going to take me away, make me laugh. And I think that doesn't do the plot as in a whole as how good it is. But I think it's just a generally good kind of like successor to Ground Day. Not as good. Groundhog Day.
It's that subset of film where just because it's fun doesn't mean it can't be clever or high quality.
Maybe that's the point I was trying to make. It's still a very good film. It's very silly in a lot of ways, but all in all, I thought it was a well-polished film, so that's why I'm including it on the list.
It's brilliant, and my only thing was I just couldn't get behind her, and when it shifts from his movie to her movie in the second half, I didn't enjoy it as much, but overall, banging movie.
Yeah.
Right, my next one on the list. Speaking of true stories that get twisted up in movies based on them, Stillwater. So this was kind of based on the Amanda Knox story. Objectively as entertainment, again, really good movie, really entertaining, really well made, and also it's got an unusual romance at the heart of it, which I really enjoy. I always like movies like that where it's a bit of a strange romance or a toxic romance. But putting that aside for a second, it is that weird thing where I just said I'm also contradicting my last point because I said I don't mind when movies twist the facts or combine characters or change things, because sometimes you do have to make entertainment.
Yeah.
But at the very least, they should always make that really known in some way.
Mm.
Do you know what I mean? Because like in this movie, it's not the Amanda Knox story. It's based on ideas of the Amanda Knox story, but they still use that in the promotion during interviews of the films talking about the Amanda Knox story. And even when they were talking about it, they would call it the seedy Amanda Knox story. And the Amanda Knox story is essentially a woman who was framed for a murder she didn't commit and unlawfully, or not unlawfully, but convicted for a crime that she didn't commit with virtually no evidence, and then completely just had her name dragged through the mud for years in press all over the world. And still her association is in a negative light. And the character that's kind of based on her did do the murder in this film.
Okay.
So again, it's just that. So that I love the film, but it does kind of go into the point of when you're telling a true story, a supposedly true story.
Yeah.
You have a level of. I think you have an obligation to either tell it as authentically as possible, or
make it up,
or just don't. If it's only loosely based on the idea of it, just totally don't use anything to do with the true story that you're taking some inspiration from to promote the movie.
Okay, so the next one I am going for is, and am I pronouncing this right? Nomadland?
Nomadland.
Yeah.
Why do you think you're pronouncing that wrong?
Know.
It's an English word.
So it's Francis. I'm definitely going to pronounce this wrong. Francis McDormand.
Yeah. Again, these are all. You've got no confidence in your ability to pronounce it. You're getting all these right.
Again, like another round before it. I quite like this because it kind of like tallies up my film preferences. No real plot at all to this film at all. Great visuals, fantastic visuals, and just general character studies about just living life and.
Yeah, I really liked it. It was kind of like a Terrence Malick style, film poetry where it kind of just wanders about, following the photography perfectly reflects it as well. It's just kind of like hovers about. It's well shot, but not in a slick way, but not in a documentary style sort of way that takes you out of it. Yeah,
it was like I think with this film the setting kind of makes it, because it's like set in the deserts and stuff like that.
Beautiful locations.
Yeah, like beautiful. And I was surprised to read that the lady that directed this also directed in 2021. It's had some weird film. What do you call it? Journey. She directed that Inari about which also won an Oscar, The guy
she won 2 Oscars.
The guy from Walking Dead that goes about, and she directed Marvel Eternals. So I don't know how she's gone from
Shit.
Like it's a madness. She goes from that. It says if there was a filmmaker last year with such a diverse amount of films, tell me now.
That nearly beats when Steven Spielberg made Schindler's List and Jurassic Park in the same year.
It's just incredible.
So my next one is The French Dispatch. I know you didn't see this, and it's in my list because I enjoyed it. Obviously, it's in my film of the year. It's probably the least accessible Wes Anderson movie, and one of my lesser Wes Anderson movies. It's an anthology movie, which is the main reason. Because for me, anthology movies just never quite get going. But what I loved about it was just the most Wes Anderson movie ever. Like in terms of his little tricks and the way he likes to tell the story and his visual way of telling the story and his unusual quirky characters, that with steroids injected and then turned up to 11, it's just it nearly tires you out with how much it keeps slapping you over the head with Wes Andersonisms. What's your next film?
Right, so this is my last one.
Is it? I've got a fucking another. Well, I'll cut mine down or just bang them out. You go ahead.
I'm gonna go, and this is, I think, probably my favourite film of the year. Obviously, being my last one, 2021. It's The Sound of Metal.
Oh.
With Riz Ahmed's main character. I just thought it was fantastic. Like, you know, like the sort of tribulations he goes through and the trials and the way he deals with it. The plot arc, where it comes together, where he accepts that he's going deaf, and then, you know, he lives in the deaf community. I just thought, all in all, it was just a brilliantly emotionally great.
I gotta
film.
see that. Would you say it's the best deaf film since It's All Gone Pete Tong?
Do you know what? I fucking love that.
That's a good movie.
It's kind of like when it takes the piss out of the Donnie Darko with the cocaine.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought that was, again, like, it was obviously like slow. It's not action or anything like that. But I thought, all in all, like the script, the writing, even the way it was shot, like very subtly shot, I thought it was fantastic.
I'll have to check that out because that's another one that slipped by me. Right, so I got a couple more, so I'm just going to bang them out quickly.
Yeah.
Pig with Nicolas Cage, fucking brilliant movie, so clever. Another testament to why Nicolas Cage is one of the most interesting fucking actors. He'll star in some absolute horse shit, and then he'll star in some amazing arty film, and I love them both. And Pig is, what's brilliant about it is it's really well made, it's interesting, he's got a really good performance at the heart of it, but it's also just it's very different. I actually don't want to give spoilers here because I want people to go see it, and I reckon most people listening probably haven't seen it because it didn't get a big wide release. But all I'll say is it's not a revenge movie as you'd think it. It's nearly like an anti-revenge movie, and it's beautiful the way it plays out, and that's all I'll say. Just go see it. It's fucking great. And also, it's a really good looking pig.
Right.
I don't mean like handsome.
It's like that Black Mirror episode. The first one, just looking at it.
No, I mean, not the way like Babe
that.
had the little toupee. It's just a nice looking pig. Got a nice
this is, before you do your last one.
Yeah.
This is one that we've talked about previously. I'm aware of it. It just hasn't come to like the streaming platforms where you don't have to pay for it yet. So I'm just patiently waiting.
It's great, man.
Next on my list.
You'll love it.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll bang out my last two quickly. So firstly, Jungle Cruise. Now, this is only on my list. It was a fun film, but it's only on my list because it was the first film I saw back in the cinema after lockdown ended. And it was an everyman cinema, so it was all luxurious and lovely. And it was completely empty. So it was just me and Sophie with a cinema screen to ourselves. I felt like I was fucking Howard Hughes when he was going crazy at the end in his little cinema, rewatching the same movies all over and over. And it was just brilliant finally being back in the cinema after like more than a year and having it to myself and just like enjoying it. And I definitely enjoyed the movie way more than I actually should have. Kind of like how you enjoy movies more when you're on a plane because you've got nowhere else to go.
Yeah.
And it was just a great experience. And my last film of the year was Mortal Kombat.
Oh, really?
Fucking love Mortal Kombat.
Fucking hell, man.
Wasn't perfect. I don't know why they stuck in that imaginary.
Not expecting that.
I don't know why they stuck in that made-up character who was an MMA fighter. That was stupid. I don't know why they had Goro like get bashed out like he was a nobody. But I'm not going to worry about that because for how shit it could have been, you could tell it was definitely a fan of the movie making the movie, and you could tell the studio didn't come in and fuck with him much. And I don't know if it made all that much money. I'm hoping it made enough money for them to get a series going, because it's set up perfectly. They set up a Scorpion, Sub-Zero, all that shit. All the characters are set up nicely. You had a good couple of You had a good couple of origin stories going on, and it's a good incarnation of it, and I feel like it's definitely worthy of at least one series, if not a franchise. With all the horse shit that gets about 10 sequels now, come on, give me a Mortal Kombat sequel.
Who's the guy at the start who's like the samurai that he kills everyone and then...
Liu Kang, the guy that goes, oh,
yeah. Is he like powerful in the games?
Yeah,
he seems to get battered in it. Or does Sub-Zero just batter everyone?
Well, to be fair, I can't actually remember how much he gets. Well, yeah, Sub-Zero is always supposed to be the baddest motherfucker. Although, to be fair, sometimes I always thought Reptile was supposed to be the baddest motherfucker. Yeah. I don't know if it's because Sub-Zero is just everyone's favourite.
Yeah.
But it was supposed to go Scorpion. But Scorpion was a good guy. So Scorpion was a good guy in this movie.
Confusing.
So I feel like they're kind of doing their own thing, but they're being loyal to the original enough. The only major true criticism I would have of it is I like that they teased the music.
Yeah,
but
did, yeah.
You don't have to cock tease it to that fucking extent.
It came in the end credits, didn't it?
Yeah, it's like, no, tease it up until the first big fight scene, then just pound it out for the rest of the movie. I want to hear the dun 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 dun.
Because I've seen this. I reckon they should have played it in the do you know when he killed Sub-Zero at the end? They should have just gone down.
Well, play it in the fight. Play it in the second half of the movie, man. Jesus Christ!
But I suppose they were just tantalising us.
I know, but there's a point where
maybe a lot of people
at a certain point you've got to stick it in, man.
A lot of people might have turned off before then.
Good point.
I thought it was a decent.
Talk about Spider-Man. You want to talk about it? It's in your list.
Look, we're going to talk about Spider-Man because I don't think we can escape 2021 without talking Spider-Man. It was just a really good film. There was all the rumours about what was going to happen. It happened anyway, and it was still exciting for me.
To be fair, you saw it in the cinema, so I'll imagine the buzz of everyone going wild.
When it happened, people stood up clapping.
Really?
It's like when a plane lands, I'm like, for fuck's sake.
See, my experience of it was watching it on TV at home, so I just thought it was dog shit, to be honest. I just thought it didn't even feel like a real movie.
No, it was... I think it's back to your original point about Jungle Cruise.
The experience, yeah.
Normally you wouldn't... There's no way in hell that you go and see Jungle Cruise, Declan. But you just saw it because the opportunity rose. It was a great time with Sophie. You was there. Basically, you was in a mansion to yourself, kind of thing. But in the cinema, I think there's certain films that you do need to just see in the cinema rather than the living room, and I think this is one of them. Especially... The person I went with is a Marvel fanboy, so every time it's kind of good because every time something's happened, I'm like, what are these people get excited about? And then everyone's getting really excited, and then it feeds onto you, as you said.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. At the end of the day, if a copy of Sex and the City 2 washed up on an island that you'd been stuck on for 5 years, you'd watch it and be like, this is fucking great.
Yeah.
Because you'd have nothing else. And it's like when the World Cup's on and people don't give a shit about football the rest of the year. They just get drawn into the hype of it because they feed off all the buzz.
I mean, in this new Batman film, I've always been DC, to be honest.
Do you prefer DC or prefer the idea of DC? Because DC's generally been pretty shit with their output.
I just prefer Batman.
Yeah.
Just over any other superhero. I think Spider-Man's all well and good, spinning around in his webs, and I'm the friendly neighbourhood Spider-Man. I'm probably gonna get crucified for this, but Batman's come from I know he's rich, but his parents are dead. It's gritty. That's kind of what I like.
DC's seedy and
seedy,
fucking,
yeah.
like,
I mean,
it's all dark alleyways and like people actually die. Batman lets people fall off fucking buildings.
yeah,
and shit.
yeah. Essentially, that's what it is. You never see someone actually dying in Marvel.
Oh, that's the one thing I hate about a lot of those Marvel guys, where it's like they'd save the villain even though they were just trying to kill their nan or something.
Yeah,
and it's
yeah.
like, what are you doing?
But like, I could compare it to like when I'm gonna do spoilers. When the other Spider-Man came out. If I'm watching this new Batman film with Robert Pattinson, and at the end, I don't know. At the end, hypothetically, you didn't see Joaquin Phoenix as the Joker, but you just heard him laughing and I would go fucking mad. I would like, I want this film.
You'll go mad.
Yeah.
But he'll be coming in on a Zimmer frame because the way the dates work out, he'll be about 83.
That is true.
And on that bombshell, we will catch you next week where we will be talking about our most anticipated films of 2022.
Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe.